Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is your Vedic astrology coach Rajat Kapoor and welcome to my channel The Legit Astrologer. Thank you so much for showering so much of your love in my recent video that I made on Saturn's direct transit in the sign of Aquarius. The video is available on my channel. I've read your comments, I've replied to your comments, and I do try to reply to each and every comment. With your love and support and by the blessings of Mahadev, I continue to make more videos on astrology transits and I also give you some pearls, some wisdom, some deep secrets, some golden remedies, and most importantly, some very important tips related to certain planets. Today, this video is about Mercury's upcoming retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio, and I'm also going to give you some golden tips about Mercury in this video, some of the things that you have never heard before. Mercury goes retrograde 2 or 3 times in a year, and this time it is happening in the sign of Scorpio on 26th of November, and Mercury is going to stay in a retrograde motion for about 20 days. This is a karmic time as far as Mercury is concerned, and it will move back to the direct motion on 16th of December. During this time, Mercury and Jupiter will be forming a yoga because Jupiter is going retrograde in the sign of Taurus. Mercury will go retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. They will be in mutual aspect with each other. They both will be retrograde. Jupiter is the guru, Mercury is the shishya. You have the teacher, guru, and the other side you have the student. I have mentioned this previously in my video. The special significance of a retrograde planet is that it has a very powerful 7th aspect, which is the aspect of desire. So this Mercury will act as if it's a Mercury in the sign of Taurus, because 7th from Mercury, which is the sign of Taurus, will be pretty much active. So will be the sign of Scorpio. This Mercury and Jupiter are forming a student teacher yoga. So one tip that I'd like to give you is over the next 20 days from 26th of November till 16th of December, whatever you learn, if you pick up a course or a skill, or if you find a teacher who is teaching you and you're learning, you will be able to apply that learning in your life. You will be able to sustain your knowledge and it will somehow transform you for good, and at the same time it will have a positive impact on your speech and also on your family, because this is what the signs of Taurus and the sign of Scorpio represent. Interestingly, the sign of Scorpio has a hidden desire, it has a hidden meaning. Mercury is the significance of intellect. Mercury is the businessman. It is the significator of learning. So whatever you learn, another tip that I'd like to give you is do not share it openly with your wider circle or with the wider public. Some of the things at times we have to keep to ourselves. So that is something which could be good for you. So let me talk about something about Mercury which is very logical and you might be able to connect to it as well. So one of the significations of Mercury is also the fact that it's a very selfish graha. This is the only planet that gets exalted in its own sign of Virgo. So it is self-centered, it is selfish. I have a question for you. Why do we donate? Now the reason we donate is very much linked to Mercury, because one of the weakness of Mercury is greed, since it is very selfish, and this is a very common weakness of mankind. Some people take greed in a positive way. Some people think, or businessmen think, that it's good to be greedy, because if we be greedy, we get more. We try to aim for more. How do we counter this greed? We counter this greed by donating. So when you donate, you are making your Mercury strong. See, remember one thing, Mercury gets exalted in the sign of Virgo, it gets debilitated in the sign of Pisces. We see donations from Pisces. So if you donate, Mercury is coming out of debility. It is a very good thing. And in reality, greed might be good for Mercury, but it is not good for Jupiter. So this is one of the secret ways how you can strengthen your Mercury. And another tip that I like to give you is any donations that you would like to make while Mercury is going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, keep it to yourself. Keep that information. Don't go out in the public and talk about what you've donated, how much you've donated. You could do that in the best of your capacity, but then keep it to yourself. This is the message that the sign of Scorpio is giving you. Another important tip about Mercury, which is related to work. Mercury considers work as a job. It is just a job for Mercury, which is seen from the 6th house, because this is where Mercury gets exalted. It also rules the natural 6th sign. But it is happy going to work. Why Mercury goes to work is because it is a learning opportunity for Mercury. Now, if you see from 3rd house, which is the natural sign of Gemini, The sign of Virgo, which is also its Mool Trikon sign or its office space, is 4 houses. Therefore, it's a learning opportunity because we see primary learning from the 4th house. And someone who has a strong Mercury or a very influential Mercury in the chart, these people make friends at work. They treat their workplace or office like a home which is away from home. And this is the kind of tip that I'd like to give you in case you have Mercury in your 1st house, in your 4th house, in your 6th house, in your 10th house, in your 11th house, or those people who have Mercury as Atma Karaka or Amatya Karaka, which is either the highest degree or the 2nd highest degree planet. Also applies to Gemini ascendants, Virgo ascendants, Sagittarius and Pisces ascendants, all the dual signs where Mercury plays a significant role. This is a tip that I'd like to give you. Make friends at work. Treat your office as if it's a home away from your home. You will be able to channelize and strengthen your Mercury in an appropriate way. Now let's talk about how Mercury's retrograde transit in the Scorpio is going to have an impact on all 12 ascendant signs or the moon signs. At the physical level, you must read this transit from your ascendant sign. At the mental level, you can also read this from your moon sign. If you're running through Dasha Antardasha of Mercury, Jupiter, or if you have prominent planets in the sign of Taurus, in the sign of Scorpio, if you're running through Dasha Antardasha of Venus, Mars, you're also likely to be impacted by this transit. If you're running through Dasha Antardasha of Saturn, you're also likely to be impacted because Saturn is also aspecting the sign of Scorpio during the current transit. And while Sun also makes a transit in the sign of Scorpio, if you're running through Dasha Antardasha of Sun, you're also likely to be impacted by this transit. Therefore, this short retrograde transit of Mercury is going to have an impact on a lot of people. This year, unusually, Mercury is spending a lot more time in the sign of Scorpio. And these 20 days, being in an inimical sign, is a ray of hope. And one last thing, I do not believe in not starting anything auspicious, not doing any work, not buying anything, not making a major decision while Mercury is retrograde. Let's stop making Mercury a scapegoat for all the bad things that are happening in our life, and you can still start in case your timing is supportive, in case your dasha is supportive. You could still go on a journey, you could still start a new work, you could still make a very important decision in your life. It doesn't need to wait. Let's start with Aries ascendants. What's happening with Aries ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned? This is your 3rd lord and the 6th lord. Already it is making a transit in the 8th house. It is forming a Viparita Yoga. Now this Mercury is going to go retrograde. So what's happening in this retrograde transit? So firstly, Mercury rules communication, change, your younger siblings, also your daily routine, things that you do on a day-to-day basis. So some of the tips that I could give you is, during this transit, Mercury is going to be aspecting your 2nd house by its 7th aspect, and it will be a mutual aspect with Jupiter that Mercury will have, which is a Guru Shishya Yoga. So this aspect is pretty strong. So your 2nd house is going to be extremely active, the sign of Taurus, for these 20-25 days. So one of the message that it is there for you, you have to take care of your family, some family matters, some family affairs, and you might need to keep things to yourself for the best interest of your family. So any secret information that is there or anything that you do not wish to disclose at this point in time, it will be good for you to keep it to yourself. Your speech is also going to go through some transformation. There is of course a hidden motive. This could be good as well. Mercury is supporting transformation for you because its rules change, it rules growth for you, and it is making a transit in the 8th house that is going retrograde. It is also looking back at your 7th house. So somehow it wants you to fix your relationship, your partnership, of course, relationship with your spouse, or if you're looking forward to getting into a new relationship, this could be a potentially favorable time. So relationship needs focus, and your family affairs, family matters need a lot of focus during this time. You might also experiment a lot with food during this time. So, I mean, it's good to keep things to yourself with regards to matters pertaining to your 2nd house. In case you're getting some unearned sources of income, and of course, if you see a rise in your income or your savings, it's better to keep some of those decisions to yourself. If you make some investment decisions, for example, keep it to yourself. So this is the time for you to be a little more selfish, but at the same time, do donate to those who need. This will help you be not greedy in life, and at the same time channelize these energies and strengthen your Mercury. And for that, I wish you the very best. Now let's talk about Taurus ascendants. What's happening with Taurus ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned. For you, Mercury is an important planet. It is a Karaka Graha. It plays a very important role in wealth related matters because Mercury is your second lord and your fifth lord. It rules wealth, your family, your Kutumba Bhava, your speech, what you say, what you eat, what you consume, what you store. It's the house of storage. Also your fifth lord of mantra, your future, creativity, your children, your positional success and progress. We also see corruption from the fifth house. This Mercury is making a retrograde transit in the seventh house. It is looking back at your sixth house. So it wants you to fix your daily routine, things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and you know what you need to fix. So you don't need other people's guidance here. The only guidance you will need at this time is the guidance of your partner, and listen to your mind, because this Mercury is aspecting your first house, your ascendant, by the seventh aspect of desire. So this is a time for self-development. So that could be your motive during this time. But this self-development could be very secretive. So you might not disclose the kind of changes or the kind of improvement that you're looking forward to in yourself. So you might go through some transformation, you might go through some physical changes, or you might start focusing on your own self, but you don't want to talk about it with others, which is okay. But make sure you take support of your partner. Make sure you listen to your partner, your spouse during this time, because your self-development journey could foster during this time. So some of the things related to communication, what you say, and of course matters pertaining to your children as well, could be of a concern. But these are some of the things that you'd like to keep to yourself. This Mercury is behaving as if it is in the sign of Taurus. So this is a relief window for you, which would help you to put things back on track as far as relationship matters are concerned, as far as your overall personality development is concerned. So this is something which you have to watch out for. Use a mantra related to Vishnu. Chant Om Vishnave Nama during this time. This will be a blessed transit for you, and you could do a lot in these 20 days of time, and for that I wish you the very best, because energies are definitely at a higher side. Now let us talk about Gemini ascendants. For Gemini ascendants, Mercury is an important planet because it's a Lagna Lord, it's Lord of the Ascendant. So for Gemini, Virgo and those who have retrograde Mercury, regardless of your Dasha Antadasha, Mercury's retrograde transit will have some or the other impact on you, because it rules first house and fourth house for you. It is the Lord of yourself, your overall body, personality, your intelligence, your mind, your brain. Also the fourth Lord of mother, your comfort space, where you feel most protected, your happy space, things that make you feel happy, that make you feel content, your homeland. And this is making a retrograde transit in your sixth house of daily routines, of deaths and diseases, things that you do on a day-to-day basis, your job. Mercury naturally gets exalted in the sixth sign of Virgo. Therefore, being in Scorpio in a retrograde motion, it is momentarily in a more comfortable space. So overall, it's not a bad transit for you, because firstly, it's your Lagna Lord and it's making a long transit in the sixth house. It's going retrograde. So we see intelligence from the sixth house. When Lagna Lord goes in the sixth house, it's a Dhimanta Yoga. So Dhimanta Yoga would mean that you would learn something which is related to higher learning, something which is related to your job, and anything that you pick up during this time could have long lasting impact, because you'll be able to apply that. Okay. On the other side, this Mercury is aspecting your 12th house by its 7th aspect of desire. Spiritual practices, spirituality is going to be at a higher side, but you might want to keep it secret, or probably to yourself. So you might do some secret donations, you might donate to temples, you might donate to people who need probably financial support or some food, but you might keep these donations, of course, information to yourself, which could be very good for you. And at the same time, this will help you strengthen your Mercury. So I will encourage you to donate and help to the best of your capacity during this time. And take some spiritual practices. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to go to social media and of course, talk about this to the world. As long as you're doing it, you are doing your karma during this time. This is karma calling, right? So 6-12 axis is pretty active. So your job is likely to go through some change, some development, some transformation, a new assignment, a new work, added responsibility could be there, or this could trigger a change as well in case your Dasha Antadasha is supportive. Worship Goddess Lakshmi during this time and you will be showered with blessings, and for that I wish you the very best. Now let's talk about Cancer Ascendants. What's happening with Cancer Ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit, which is about 20 days long, between 26th November till 16th of December, when Mercury is going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. This is happening in your 4th house. Mercury for you is your 3rd lord and the 12th lord. The lord of growth, change, your younger siblings, your co-bonds, your communication, journeys we see from the 3rd house, and also 12th lord of higher self-consciousness, losses, expenditure, your self-awareness, your ability to give, your ability to donate is going retrograde in the 5th house in the sign of Scorpio. It is looking back at your 4th house, so it wants you to fix your comfortable space. So maybe some changes you will do in your home. It could be a very good time to declutter, clean up your house, do it yourself, donate old stuff from your house, those things that you don't need during this time. And you don't need to tell about this to the world, so keep it to yourself and try to give it to charitable organizations, to temples, and of course those people who need it. Mantras could be extremely beneficial because Mercury naturally rules communication, speech, and of course learning, and it is making a transit in your 5th house. So a mantra, if it is related to Lord Krishna or Vishnu, this could be extremely beneficial for you during this time. This Mercury is aspecting your 11th house by its 7th aspect of desire, and both Mercury and Jupiter are making a mutual aspect. It's a Guru Shishya Yoga. So firstly, there is some karma pertaining to your friends, pertaining to your outer social circle, okay, that you might need to resolve. Maybe you will step in and resolve someone else's conflict. So make sure that you take care of your relationship while you're resolving that conflict, because that could be detrimental towards your relationship and of course how it will be with the other person. So make sure you of course try to resolve other people's matters, but strengthen your relationship as well. So some of the things related to you could get a recognition or some sort of gain during this time, right, which could happen all of a sudden. So there is a change there. Of course, financially it seems to be a positive transit because it's making a transit in your 5th house, aspecting the 11th house, and both Jupiter and Mercury are in a mutual aspect. So you could see some sort of financial development or decisions pertaining to your finances during this time. And again, keep these plans, actions, of course, decisions to yourself, right, in the best interest for your future. And for this, I wish you the very best. Now let us talk about Leo Ascendants and what's happening with Leo Ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned. So this transit is happening in your 4th house. Mercury is your 2nd lord and the 11th lord. So it plays a very important role in finances, in wealth related matters, because 2nd house rules your wealth, your accumulation, your family, your speech, what you consume, what you store. And 11th is the Ayabhava, that's income, material comforts, material gains, those things that you use which reduce manual effort. So automation is also seen from the 11th house, technology is also seen from the 11th house at a general level. This Mercury is making a retrograde transit in your 4th house. So firstly, it's looking back at your 3rd house. It wants to fix some matters pertaining to your communication, pertaining to your change, and of course, your relationship with your sibling is going to go through some sort of change. Some sort of development will be there. Maybe they might need your help or you might need their help. So be there for each other during this time. There's also karma towards mother during this time. So reach out to your mother and of course, build a healthy connection with your mother. Take her advice during this time. This could be quite beneficial for you. This Mercury is aspecting your 10th house by its 7th aspect of desire. So your 4-10 axis is pretty active because Jupiter and Mercury are in a mutual aspect. Jupiter is the guru, Mercury is the shishya. Jupiter is the teacher, Mercury is the student who is keen to learn, who always looks forward to learning opportunities. So anything that you learn around this time, which is pertaining to your work or pertaining to your personal interest, you could have a long lasting impact. If you pick up a hobby or if you learn a skill, maybe if you start learning how to play a musical instrument as a personal hobby, or you pick up something personally, you will have a long lasting impact. If you learn something related to your job or your work or your business, you will be able to apply that learning for your betterment and of course for your professional growth. One important tip that I'd like to give you is if you make plans pertaining to your work, decisions pertaining to your job, pertaining to your work, keep those decisions to yourself, or you would like to keep these decisions to yourself with the best interest in terms of how you could foster these decisions and of course make the most of your future. So this is one tip or the message that I'd like to give you more from a karmic standpoint, and this could be beneficial for you for that matter and give you more bigger opportunities as far as future is concerned, and I wish you the very best. Now let us talk about Virgo ascendants. What's happening with Virgo ascendants? Mercury is your Lagnesha, Lord of Lagna, ascendant, and also your 10th Lord. So it's an important planet, and whenever Mercury goes retrograde, by default you will have some karmic repercussion or impact as far as this transit is concerned, and this time it's happening for 20 days and happening towards the end of 2024. So definitely is going to bring in some karma, and it's happening in your third house of your communication, your change, growth, co-bonds or younger siblings primarily, Guru Upadesha, teachings of your Guru. We also see that from the third house. Journey, starting a journey. It could be a short journey or it could be starting something new, because change gets triggered from this house and Mercury rules yourself. So you need to change, and your 10th house, which is your work, job, profession, that might be coming to a change. Something might stop and something might start again as far as the next few weeks is concerned. So watch this space. Mercury is aspecting your 9th house by its 7th aspect of desire. So your 3-9 axis is pretty active. Journey is inevitable. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you will travel. So it could be starting something new. Mercury and Jupiter are forming a yoga. So it's a Guru Shishya yoga. So there is some karmas pertaining to your Guru. In case you've been looking forward to having a Guru, you may be able to find a Guru around this time, or there could be some conflict related to matters pertaining to your teacher or Guru that could propel during this time. So it would depend on your ongoing Dasha Antardasha, but this time period definitely indicates higher learning. Something that you would learn that you might want to keep it to yourself, something which will be supreme. So this could be related to spirituality, or this could be related to some higher education, which could be something that you have not ever thought of doing. Okay, so this is the time for you to pursue some of your learning goals. Go on a spiritual retreat during this time. Go on a spiritual trip, because your 3-9 axis has 2 retrograde planets in transit. It will give you a lot of karmic relief as far as any difficulties in your life is concerned. And of course, matters pertaining to your family will also be a priority for you. You might make some financial decisions during this time, because Mercury is looking back at your 2nd house, matters pertaining to that. Write, journal during this time. This could be extremely beneficial. Pen down your goals, anything that you do using your hands, and that too if it is for your learning. So if you pick up a course, make sure you make notes, because that's how you are doing your karmas pertaining to this particular time, and I wish you the very best. Happy learning. Now let's talk about Libra ascendants. What's happening with Libra ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned? This is happening in your 2nd house of wealth, your financial management, your accumulation, family. It is the Kutumba Bhava. It is also the Vani Bhava. So we see speech from the 2nd house, what we consume, what we eat, what we store, how we store it. Mercury is a benefic planet for you, both at the functional level as well as the natural level as well. It's a best friend with your Lagna Lord Venus. It's your Bhagyesha, because it rules your 9th house. It's your 9th Lord and it's your 12th Lord. So it plays a very important role as far as higher education, both spiritual as well as life lessons is concerned. Your overall wisdom, because it rules your dharma, it rules fortune. So it is time for you to protect your dharma, because this Mercury is going retrograde in your 2nd house. It is looking back at your 1st house. So it wants you to be the protector of your dharma. It wants you to take your higher education, take your spiritual education in your own hands. That is the kind of decision which you would like to take during this time. This Mercury is aspecting your 8th house by its 7th aspect of desire. So there are definitely some secret desires that will crop up during this time. It could be related to your transformation or your dharma. So take your transformation in your own hand, because Jupiter is going retrograde in your 8th house, Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 2nd house. There will be a mutual aspect with each other. So decisions pertaining to your finances, pertaining to your family, and of course your own transformation. That is something which you have to take in your hands. You have to take control, take charge of your secret desires. To overcome any sort of greed, donate, because if you donate, you strengthen your Mercury. You put this Mercury out of debilitation as well, if that is required, if that is needed. And most importantly, you need to keep that secret. You don't need to disclose it to the world. That is the kind of message I'd like to give you during this transit, and I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Scorpio Ascendants. What's happening with Scorpio Ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned, which is happening in your first house. Mercury gains directional strength, or it is Digbali in the first house. So you've been welcoming Mercury in your ascendant, now it is going retrograde in the first house. Definitely a karmic time for about a few weeks for Scorpio ascendants. Mercury is not the ideal graha for you because it's your 8th lord and the 11th lord. So it rules two not so good bhavas or houses. 8th lord represents transformation, longevity, sudden changes, sudden ups and downs, sudden decisions in life. So it brings a lot of suddenness in life. It brings shocks as well. It of course improves your health and well-being. It improves your research capability as well, because this is a hidden house naturally. Mercury is also your 11th lord of gains, your wider social network, your friends, your recognition, your income. All the material comforts are seen from the 11th house. 11th house is naturally the house of opposition as well. Okay. Now this Mercury is in your first house. It's looking back at your 12th house. So it wants you to pursue some spiritual matters and also help those who need you during this time. See, Mercury in the first house can make someone greedy because it's a very selfish graha. How do you overcome greed? You overcome greed by donating. So definitely this is personally a transformational time, because Jupiter is in your 7th house in the sign of Taurus. It is retrograde. Mercury is in your first house. So yourself and your relationship is likely to go through a change. There will be certain matters pertaining to your relationship, maybe some decisions that you would look back in the past and try to correct those decisions. You would try to change yourself, and you would also like to influence your partner. And of course, this will be a collective step because there are retrograde energies in both these houses during this time. Or it could be matters pertaining to your business, pertaining to those people who are opposite to you during this time. This is the kind of message which Mercury is giving you. So there is a relationship teaching. You need to learn from each other. This is the secret of this transit. Personally, it is going to bring in a sense of intelligence in you, and of course, a willingness towards learning. And for that, I wish you the very best. Happy learning. Now let us talk about Sagittarius ascendants. What is happening with Sagittarius ascendants? Mercury is going retrograde for about 20 days. So this will have an impact for the next few weeks. It is going retrograde in your 12th house. Mercury for you plays two roles. Firstly, it's your 7th lord, and it is also Bhadakesh. So it rules Kendra, and it is also the lord of obstacles for you. So the lord of obstacles going in the 12th house is good because it reduces obstacles during that time because of its weak disposition, and it is going retrograde. So it is double good. You get benefited by this aspect that you are free from certain obstacles as far as the next few weeks are concerned. They will be very minimum. These could be obstacles pertaining to your relationship and pertaining to your work, because Mercury is also your 10th lord, the lord of karma, your profession, your actions in the society, what you do in this world. And while going retrograde in the 12th house in the sign of Scorpio, it is looking back at your 11th house. So it wants to resolve some conflicts pertaining to your friends. It wants to improve your relationship with your friends. So this is something which you need to watch out for during this time. Maybe in the past there was some conflict that now you need to fix. This Mercury is aspecting your 6th house by its 7th aspect of desire. There is one clear message. You need to control the enemies of your mind, Shad Ripus, and one of the Shad Ripu is greed. There is also a sense of deceit, that is also Shad Ripu. Lies is also Shad Ripu, and of course attachment is also one of the enemies of mind. So you need to control your sense of attachment. In order to counter greed, because Mercury is making a transit in the 12th house, you need to give, you need to donate. And one other remedy for you during this time could be to feed pigeons. Mercury is associated to pigeons. You must feed them some grains during this time, which could be beneficial for you. It will strengthen your Mercury, and donate to those people who you need. This way, you are trying to control the enemies of your mind. From a spiritual point of view, this could be a positive transit because your 6-12 axis is pretty active. There is retrograde Jupiter, which is your Lagna Lord, and a retrograde Mercury in the 12th house. So this is naturally going to make you a lot more spiritual. So follow some spiritual routine and discipline. During this time, you will be benefited. Chant mantras related to Jupiter or Sadashiva during this time. You could be benefited. And for that, I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Capricorn Ascendants. What's happening with Capricorn Ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned? For you, Mercury is the 6th Lord and the 9th Lord. Mercury is your Bhagyesha because it rules your 9th house of fortune, dharma, long journeys, higher spiritual knowledge, your father or father figure. Mercury also rules the 6th house of daily routines, your debts and diseases, loans, and of course, ability to repay those loans as well, your enemies, competition, your opposition. This is making a transit in the 11th house, which is already going on. So Mercury is going in a direct motion. Now it will go retrograde or will be Vakri. And this is a karmic time. So firstly, Mercury or any other planet does very well in the 11th house as far as transit is concerned, and this is your Bhagyesha. So it will do very well. It will help you overcome those people who are opposite to you. And if you've faced bigger enemies in the last few weeks, you will be able to overcome them. You will be able to destroy them. This is the kind of power that you will have for the next few weeks. You must worship Vishnu. You must use either the mantra Om Vishnave Nama or Om Namo Narayanaya. So these are the two mantra choices that you can have in order to destroy your enemies and counter any opposition that you're facing. This Mercury is aspecting your 5th house, where there is already a retrograde Jupiter which is making a transit. So any mantras will really help you. And keep these mantras to yourself. Do not talk about it, what you are chanting or the kind of prayers that you are doing or what is your spiritual routine. So keep this knowledge to yourself. And there is also some karma pertaining to your children that you would likely to resolve during this time, because Mercury again is a childlike planet. It has got energies of children. So in case you're planning to have a child, this could be a potentially favorable time to make that decision or at least start planning. So that is something you need to read this transit, and I wish you the very best. Now let's talk about Aquarius Ascendants and what's happening with Aquarius Ascendants as far as Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio is concerned. For you, Mercury is the 5th Lord and the 8th Lord. So 5th Lord becomes a very important planet because it's your Mantresha. It rules your future. Anything that you do as far as future is concerned. And it's also your 8th Lord. So firstly, 5th Lord, it rules your children. 8th Lord, it rules your transformation. It rules your Ayush. It's an Ayush Karak. And it also rules all the secret desires, the hidden things in your life. Sudden ups and downs, sudden changes. This Mercury is going retrograde in your 10th house. Mercury is the natural significator of the 10th house. Therefore, it's a pretty strong position in spite of being in the inimical sign of Scorpio. And this is the respite that you're getting during this time, because this Mercury will feel as if it's in the sign of Taurus, in the very friendly sign of Taurus in your 10th house. So there are definitely certain decisions pertaining to your career that you will take during this time. This Mercury is looking back at your 9th house. Decisions pertaining to your relationship, to the relationship with your father. That is also something which is likely to happen during this time. Decisions related to your dharma during this time, and that is going to strengthen. This Mercury is aspecting your 4th house. So secret comfort. So you might find your own secret comfort space. Okay, so it could be spending time with yourself, being isolated, or it could be going out in the open, being extremely social with people. There could be two extremes. This will depend on your ongoing dasha antardasha. At times you will feel that you want to spend time with yourself, you want to have a lot of reflection. The other day, you would become a social butterfly. You would like to meet up with people. You would like to engage with people. You must pursue something of your personal interest during this time, because your 4th house is pretty active during this time. So take care of your well-being, practice mindfulness, exercise, eat right. So these are some of the things that you could do during this time. Excellent time to declutter your home and also your workspace. Make sure everything is very tidy and organized. Donate things from your home and donate stationery during this time. This could be extremely beneficial, particularly if you give it to students or those who study for education purposes. This could be pretty good to strengthen and channelize your Mercury during this time, and I wish you the very best. Let's now talk about Pisces ascendants. For Pisces, Mercury plays two roles. Firstly is your Kendra house lord, which rules 4th house and the 7th house. It is also Badakesh, because it rules your 7th house and you're in the dual sign. So this Mercury is making a retrograde transit in your 9th house of Bhagya, fortune, long journeys. Your father or your guru is also seen from the 9th house. Your higher spiritual knowledge is also seen from the 9th house. Mercury rules 4th house for you. Your comfortable space, mother, your homeland, those things which make you feel happy, that make you feel content, your safe space. Mercury also rules your 7th house of partnership, marriage. This is the Jaya Bhava. We see love and also war. We see those people who are opposite to you. Mercury is also the Bhadikesh, lord of obstacles. And this is making a retrograde transit in your 9th house. So it's a moment of respite where lord of obstacles, when it goes retrograde, it somehow reduces the obstacles. It will try and look back to your 8th house and help you transform for good. Help you cope up with suddenness in your life. If you've faced some sudden decisions in the last few days or last few weeks, now is the time for you to regain your strength, regain that vitality, and at the same time regain a lot of strength at the mental as well as the physical level. This Mercury is aspecting your 3rd house by its 7th aspect of desire. So there is some change that is happening, but you would not be very vocal about this change. You might not want to share or talk about this change with other people. Maybe you're going on a journey. Maybe you're starting a new job. You have an offer that you're trying to contemplate. Keep things to yourself during this time. Your 3-9 axis is pretty active. Your communication is going to be pretty active. So from a karmic standpoint, any journey that you take for yourself, it could be a spiritual journey that could be quite good for you. Keep it to yourself. You do not need to share it with a lot of people, because this will change you for good. You are likely to be extroverted during this time. You would likely to, of course, speak to a lot of people. But then I would give you an advice, a tip, that some of the aspects of communication and what you say, okay, you need to also be very calculative, right, in terms of what is that you'd like to share with people and how you're going to communicate. So these are some of the things that you have to be very mindful of during this time. It's an opportunity window for you to elevate your Bhagya, to have your Bhagya, your fortune support your decision making. Go on a spiritual retreat, get some Guru Upadesha during this time. There's definitely some karmas pertaining to your Guru. Either you're going to have a conflict, a fight, or you would bow down to your Guru. So there could be two extremes during this time, and I wish you the very best. So this was about Mercury's retrograde transit in the sign of Scorpio. I hope and believe Mercury's retrograde transit brings a sense of maturity in our life, helps us learn deep secrets, helps us research, and at the same time take charge of this learning so that we can apply it in our life and bring a sense of transformation for our own good. Thank you very much. God bless you all.